Hi Krishna, all glories to Srila. Struggling devotees. I'm one of them. We're always struggling, but a lot of the reasons we're struggling that I have found in my journey that seems to relate to many of our community practitioners is we've kind of jumped to like transcendence and we kind of skip the mode of goodness, the kind of material level, basically meaning, for me, is my understanding, and not everyone will relate, is we're jumping over the common sense, the gentleman level, the lady level, what does that mean? How to pilot your machine and your body and understand how it works in your advantage. Particularly, I focus a lot on like mindset, which means brain. I like to, it can mean mind, brain, but I like to make things real simple in Thrive and Bhakti, down to earth. I'm not going to make loads of quotes, but it's just, we skip sometimes. We can overlook, should we say, or maybe not consciously, but we can overlook because we kind of think that if we talk about things in a normal human way, I think sometimes if we kind of assess things from a mundane point of view, it kind of like we think it's kind of Maya. And I don't know, but I kind of get the feeling, and I've seen it in my own life in Krishna consciousness, that we often think that, well, as devotees, and because we have Shastra, anything outside has no relevancy, and they can't learn anything really because they're all in Maya. But in my little humble journey, my short time in Bhakti over the decades, I realized that non-devotees do a lot of things better than me, and I'm a devotee. In fact, they even have sometimes better attitudes, better behavior, and a better understanding of the brain or the mind and how to sort of get on top of it. I know it's a little bit humiliating. We kind of got this idea that in Bhakti, sometimes, well, I have the Shastra, and it's all in there, Prabhu. It's all in our books. But then I look at those devotees sometimes, and I've done that, and I've looked back at myself at those times and realized I really didn't have myself together materially. Prabhu, it's all about um, Shastra. Well, it's true. It is true. But sometimes we overlook and don't see within our Shastra the kind of ground level. We have this high goal, but we have a lot of, you know, often we're not actually, Bhagavad Gita chapter 2. I'll give an example. So let's get into it. So here's some ways that I think will really help you if you're out there wanting to move forward fast, you want to fast track, or you want to be able to get better habits, get control of your day-to-day life, get down to the ground, like how do I get my chanting, my reading in, how do I communicate better, how do I have better relationships and all that. Yes, there's the bhakti side of things, but often we forget, like sometimes we're like shouting out Shastra, and generally we can be quite rude, or we can be insensitive, all these kinds of things, and we forget the bhakti is all about character. It's about character development. I made this a bit of a mistake in my life, and maybe that relates, maybe it doesn't. But it's all about character, developing characteristics. And sometimes, we can be practicing bhakti and actually not developing our character. I'm okay, Prabhu. I don't need anyone to tell me what to do. I don't, I'm doing books, but I'm not necessarily treating devotees or even non-devotees very well. Although in Krishna Bhagavad Gita says very clearly you shouldn't disturb anyone. Anyone shouldn't disturb any living entity. You shouldn't think you should be lower than the straw in the street. Yet as devotees, we're looking down at non-devotees all the time. Can be. So here is a couple of three kind of pointers if that we address within my program, but you can, this is something you can address and be useful to you, hopefully. So one is, we've got to understand the brain. We've got to understand the machine we're operating. So we're a pilot. In fact, Prabhupada used to say the spirit soul is like the pilot of a plane. What's the use of the plane if there's no pilot? And pilot's a very good analogy because, every day you've got to fly this plane. Every day you've got to do, you're en route and you've got to move this machine. Yantra Udani Maya, right? So this, we're seated on a machine made of material energy. So we're in a machine. A machine means it's a sophisticated, it's better than AI. I mean, the whole computer, the brain, the software, the hardware, it's all um, way beyond even AI. And we're waking up and we're often not, we're kind of lackadaisical. It's like, yeah, I'm just getting up today, may do my rounds, may do this, may do that. See how it goes, Prabhu. Yeah, but you're a pilot. You're meant to be going somewhere. So imagine if a pilot gets into an airplane and it's like, yeah, and the co-pilot's there, just for instance, say that could represent the super soul. Let's have fun with this. And you're kind of like, and he's like, where are we going? Well, maybe we'll go here, maybe we'll go there. We'll see how it goes. But you've got all these settings and you've got the throttle and you've got the kind of like the checks to do. You've got to kind of realize you've got to get to the runway. You've got to get your day started. You've got to kind of move and direct your life today. But we're often not treating our days like that. And what I found quite humbling is that I found non-practitioners figured this out for their material goals, and they do it better than I was doing as a devotee. There are smart materialists out there who know how to wake up in the morning, set their goals, get their goals right, meditate right, have their morning program, and they're accountable. They apply all these success principles, and they achieve very high standards of sense and mind control for their material desires, but still they fly in the plane. They're not so controlled by their minds and bodies. But as devotees, are we up to par with them, and shouldn't we be beyond them? That's what I got humbled by. I started growing a lot faster and better in my bhakti when I was told, and I saw examples outside of my community who had their lives together better than me materially. They were nicer than me, better communication skills than me, consistently showing up and being responsible, being dutiful. Of course, these are stages we're meant to go through. Mode of goodness, right? And we often want to skip all that. But Prabhu, can't you see what I'm doing? Rather than, who am I becoming? So here's a couple of tips and see what you think. So first of all, we have to understand the brain, this machine. If you are not on top of it, I mean, you've got to understand it. It has tricks. It does tricks to us. And one of the way, if we're not getting our sadhana or reading or where we want to be in our spiritual life, a lot of it that's to do is because we don't realize one thing. One is the brain needs specific directions. Any neuropsychologist, someone who is successful, even non-devotees, they understand that the brain needs to be directed. Its default is to go off track, to be distracted, to be vague, to not really want to be committed. But a disciplined person, Navy SEAL, an entrepreneur, or an athlete, or whatever, they understand when I wake up, I expect that, but I have already planned my day. I know what my goal is, and these little habits I do every day will get me there. Now, how many of us as devotees are waking up and doing that? It's being specific. When your meetings are, when you're doing your rounds, how much you're going to read, when you're going to read it, ticking those things off from one day to the next with your goal in mind to succeed, to complete the reading Chaitanya Charitamrita, reading Srimad Bhagavatam, attending certain amount of classes, listening to a certain amount of audios of Srila Prabhupada. Because if you're not, I can guarantee that 9 times out of 10, if you're not actually having a target, what I call, here we go, number 1, mental compass. You have to know the direction and where you're meant to be heading. You need to be specific and you have to have a plan. Where am I going to be? You may, well, I'm going back to Godhead, Prabhu. We're all going back to Godhead. Yeah. But where are you heading this month? Where in your Krishna consciousness is steps? So in the next 30 days, what do you need to improve in your Krishna consciousness? And what is it specific? And what are you doing every day to move towards that small goal? Can it be improving your marriage, improving your relationships with devotees, doing your service better, quality, quantity, chanting? You've got to focus in on what it is you want to improve, and then Krishna helps. If it's all vague, the probabilities of it happening like is very slim, a lot lower. But if you tell the brain and you have a plan, a lot of those don't have the plans. Of course, it's more natural for others to have plans according to their personality types. So first of all, sit down and think where in the next 90 days, this is a neurological time frame, 90 days, and you break it into 30 days. In the next 30 days, in 90 days, where do you want to be? And then in the next 30 days, where on that journey do you want to get to? Specifically, numbers of pages you read, if you're developing yourself in terms of your character, your confidence, what things you're going to put into your life that's going to help you develop those character things. I want to become more humble, a servant. So what practically are you going to do today that you can tick off that's measurable and specific, that's going to be something you can monitor to say, yes, I'm practicing confidence, I'm practicing humility, I'm practicing to develop these characteristics. If it's a communication, relational, I'm going to spend and tick off today where I'm going to talk to 3 devotees and I'm just going to listen and not respond. I'm going to seek to understand. Maybe I'll read a communication book on how to be a better listener. Oh, no, but that's not in Shastra, Prabhu. No, I think if some of us actually read some books that developed and helped us, give us the skill sets to practice the things we do, I think our movement would have a lot more competency, and a lot more people will move forward much quicker. So mental compass, your plan. Right. 2, goals. Your goals don't mean enough. You can set yourself goals. Oh, I'm going to do this probably, but if it doesn't mean, if you don't have a feeling, if it's not important to you in a genuine way, then it will just fizzle out. You've got to sit down and think about, what do I really want to change? And get a feeling about it and make a decision. Right? You've got to make a decision in the next week to 90 days or next 30 days of the next 3 months. I'm going to do my other things, but I'm going to focus on this and make a decision with a feeling behind it. The feeling can be like how you want to feel at the end of the 90 days, how you want your life to look. You've got to have a vision and it's got to have an emotion to it. Or it can be, I'm just sick of feeling this way. I want to have this. I want that to change. The negative. It can be a push or a pull feeling, but it's got to be decisive. So mental compass, and you've got to have a goal that means something to you. It's important enough to you, and make a decision with it. Make a decision to act and change that. And another third point is and it's a disease of the world today. It's a big problem, is where we make decisions based on how we feel. This is one of the things we work on very, very closely after some time inside Thrive Bhakti program, where devotees start to measurably and to be accountable to doing things and measuring, are they doing things despite how they feel? This is you can't move forward in your bhakti, let alone material life, unless you do that. Oh, but Prabhu, I don't feel like it. I don't feel. I don't. That is the mental platform. It's a feeling. It comes and goes. We have to make decisions and do things based on our values. I'll give you an example, which was really tough. My son, he wanted to go to a birthday party with some of his friends he does football with. They're not devotees. One's a Buddhist family. And I said, fine, they're going to go to a play park, and there's some games there, video games, but it's mainly like laser tag and stuff like that. But then I found out, and he was attached to going, of course. And then I found out it was a gaming room. So a place where it's like 3 hours of just computer screens gaming together. And he does do a little bit of maths games and stuff like that. But my values of our family, the games they're not good at all. Most of them, that's our values, is how we, in our home, don't want my son exposed to gaming and that kind of thing. So anyway, he I had to suddenly realize an hour before we're going that I had to cancel it. And I said, "Oh no, actually, my son can't." But my heart was like, my son was started, it was like, but I'm supposed to be. He got his whole heart set on going and playing with his friends and being there. I said, "Look, I can't let you go," and it hurt. The feeling was really hard. When you've got a young son or a daughter and you have to let them down, and it's just before they're leaving. Um, but I looked at my wife and I said, "What's our values? What is the value of this family?" And our values in our family is not to waste time on computer games. Right? Not going to waste our lives doing it. And when he's old, he can make his own decisions. And I said, Bala, I said, we have to make the decisions on our values. Although right now it really hurts, and I'm sorry. And so that was an example where that was a really tough call. I nearly gave in and said, "Oh, he's so got his mind set on it, and he's crying now, and it's just like going to be like this and that." So I said to my son, I said, "Look, I can make you feel happy now, but you'll suffer later, or you'll have to suffer a little bit now and, get over it and have a bit of a cry, but you'll thank me later. This is tough love," I said, and I love you, but I'm making this decision based on your future and the values of our family. And then, it really hurt, and I was still a bit wounded, and I then said, "Look, let's set you up something better to do." So we ended up getting him to go to a friend's house. We made accommodations to him to have something exciting to do. And then the next day I woke up and I remember having this feeling in my heart of like, because I was feeling a bit guilty and was I being over strict? Am I being fanatical, Prabhu, and all this sort of thing. And then I woke up in the morning, my heart was like, I'm, I felt aligned with my values. There's a feeling. This is Dharma, actually. Making decisions based on your values, not on how you feel. And I think this was a good example where I could have given in. Oh, it's just once. It's like the taste of sugar, 3 hours of gaming, so addictive, and the algorithms they use now to make them addictive. So we have to check in. You want to move forward, write down what are your values. Not just like overall values, but like specific values of your family, your level, your standard of your Krishna consciousness, and it'll be different. It can be a little bit different, all the standards of householders and stuff. To that degree. But for us, a very deep value is screen time is very minimal for our son and for us. And of course, we can't ask him to do what can't ask him not to do what we're doing. So we don't have, I don't watch anything. I don't watch movies. I don't do all that. I've just never been into it. Never was a screen child. But that may be different for different devotees and their kids. But that's our values of our home. And it was really tough. But then I've been doing that every time I have feelings come inside of me. I practice and I note it and I'm accountable to myself. Like, is this aligned with our values and our standards where we're at and what we want to practice? And I have to role model that for my son too. We don't sit in front of our son scrolling and Instagramming, all the time and being on our phones, and it's kind of like it destroys the social dynamics and the relationship. These things they've got to be very, very careful as Krishna conscious practitioners. We're not sitting in our rooms on our phones and then expecting our sons and our daughters to not get into phones, and because they're just going to copy what we do. Monkey see, monkey do. So here we are. So this is what today's about, like 3 things: getting your mental compass. Number 1, mental compass. What's your plan? Where are you heading? Be specific. You're the pilot. Get excited. What's the goal? That's the second one. Goal, and make it an emotional goal. Like, make a decision. Yes, this is what I'm going to work on, and be specific. Direct the brain every day. Make the goal, set the plan, and then do day to day. And then 3, make sure you don't let your feelings distract you from your values. Vows and values, of course, because vows are valuable, right? So you have to have your vows, and your vows are linked to your values. So I hope this has been really useful. These things are a lot easier to practice in an environment, and in our Thrive and Bhakti program, it's an environment. We actually show up and coaching calls, and we have like this is we have accountability and those kinds of things. But these are things that any devotee, if they really get their mindset right. So this is a thinking. This is all in our Shastra, but this is just bringing it down to a common sense level, right? So If you're out there and you're wondering, I'm not where I want to be, well, you have to figure out where you want to be. Where do you want to be? Go. Make a decision. That's where I want to be. No backdoor. Then make a plan and chunk it down into, like, simple week to week, month to month steps towards the goal. And yeah, and don't, those days where you're not feeling like it and you're not, you feel you're compromising, you have to, make a decision. But if you have those goals and values in front of you, you have them on the wall, you know where you're heading each day. Like a pilot gets into the cockpit, he has on a board, we're going to the Bahamas, these are the coordinates. So I'll leave you with this, at least from this call, from this podcast. Figure out where you want to be in 90 days. Just think 90 days. It's not too far away, it's not too close. And then just make a plan how to get there and have fun. That's how we do it. And that's basically our program. But if you're just a pilot in the cockpit and you're just kind of winging it and you're not really waking up realizing you're in a very sophisticated machine and you drop your guard, planes don't land where they're meant to land. They can go right off course, and of course planes will. So make sure you learn to refine yourself, become an expert, get that success mindset and thinking as you step into your vehicle every day and pilot it efficiently. And those who do will fast track. Those who don't, it's going to be turbulent, a lot more turbulent. Especially when the turbulence come, they'll be affected by those things because you're staying on the mental feeling platform. Whereas a pilot who's very experienced and knowledgeable, even though he's going to the Bahamas and turbulence comes, they're not affected. All right. I hope that's been useful. Please leave a comment below, subscribe to the channel, and yeah, look forward to sharing some more insights. Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Haribol.